Woo! I haven't given up on this yet. Now that I've said that, I'm going to forget about it. Well, touch wood. And guess what? I did give up on it. I'm so sorry for the hiatus. I've been juggling a whole bunch of different stuff, with uni, other work, things like that. But I'm now back to it. I am now on my uni break and I am going back to uploading regularly. Hopefully. A couple of updates though. I now have a little baby kitten. Hey, it's okay. Oh, I'm so sorry. This is Arancini. I adopted him a few days ago, actually. He is 10 weeks old and he's a tiny little baby. Say hello. Hi. Okay, down here. So again, I'm so sorry for the... Oh, there was a tiny meow! So I'm really sorry for the hiatus. I just wanted to slip in here while I'm editing just to give you a heads up of what's happening. But yes, I will stop talking and I will let you watch the rest of the video. Anyway, we are looking at our third film of the A24 marathon, and that is Spring Breakers. Oh boy. If you don't know what A24 is or what I'm doing here, I explain it all in my first little video. But if you don't have time to watch that, but I really think you should, I'm watching every film created, produced, directed, all that good stuff by the A24 film company. Why did my phone just turn on? The fuck? So we've had a shit film, we've had a really good film, and now there's this. I'm still processing it all in my brain, but let's get into it. But first, I should just warn everyone that there will be spoilers in the video. And if you're at all interested in watching this film, just pause here and go watch the film and then come back and finish the video. Also, these are just my opinions. I don't have any authority over you guys watching this. I am not a film critic by any means. I just like watching movies and I like sharing my thoughts and talking about them. So, yeah. Okay, so Spring Breakers is a crime drama written and directed by Harmony Korine. I think that's how you say his name. It was distributed by A24 in early 2013 and was one of the first films that really got A24 some real recognition. There are some pretty big actors in this as well, like James Franco, Selena Gomez, Vanessa Hudgens, Ashley Benson and Rachel Korine. The main plot follows 4 college students who don't have enough money to go on their spring break, so they decide, like every rational human, to rob a diner. And that's not even the worst bit of the film, this is baby stuff compared to the things that happen later on. The police finally catch up with them when they're on spring break and they are arrested, but then they are bailed out by Alien, a drug dealer and aspiring rapper. Yes, his name is Alien. And from this point, the girls kind of get caught up in his life of crime and drugs and gangs and basically become his little minions that he brings with him on his robberies and shootouts. I don't even know where to start with this film. When I first watched it, I was just in shock. I was not expecting whatever this was. But the thing is, I don't know if I like it or not. There are some really good stuff about this film, believe it or not, but there are also some really, really bad stuff. Well, I guess the first thing I thought when I was watching this film, apart from being attacked by boobs and ass in the first 10 minutes, was that it actually looked really cool. The whole neon aesthetic was awesome, and I'm really into that neon shit, so I approve. This neon vibe was used a lot through the lighting during the party scenes and scenes that have a lot of, deep plot, so it gets the audience to pay attention to the action that's going on in the scene. This was actually very smart, because this is Korine's way of being look at the pretty lights, pay attention to what's happening because it will be important later. What am I doing with my hands? The editing was actually really good as well, because there wasn't really a shot that was longer than it needed to be. It just showed the action that it needed to show and then moved on. And this created a fast-paced, exciting ride that you would expect from a film like this. Between every scene or change in location, there's always this sound effect of like a gun shooting or a gun cocking, I don't know, just something to do with a gun. And Vanessa Hudgens' character, especially in like the beginning of the film, was making a lot of like pew pew, pew pew noises. I first thought that this was just really shit foreshadowing, but after looking it up, I found out that it was actually deliberate as like a way of them mocking the gangs that we see later on in the film. So with this fast-paced editing, these bright colours and loud music, it all creates something that feels like a 2000s music video. Just a little bit more brutal though. Now the performances were actually really good, but I just got a little bit uncomfortable seeing Gabriella Montez and Alex Russo in their bikinis and getting drunk and grinding on random dudes. Also, James Franco creeped me out so much. Like there's this scene where he's sitting at a grand piano in his huge backyard and he's just singing this like really creepy song, but he's just pressing the same key over and over again. Like that's something that you'd see in a horror movie. That bit just gave me chills. The dialogue was a little bit cringy at times, but that's what it was meant to be. It was also very interesting because a lot of the sections of dialogue would be repeated over and over again, which I thought was really weird at first, but it kind of turned out pretty cool. So it almost suggests that these girls kind of replaced Alien with his drug deals and gang violence. So from the outset, this film looks super raunchy and like your typical party film, but as you start to look deeper into it, you can kind of see the issues that Corinne is wanting to talk about, and Spring Break is only just a backdrop for this. And I completely missed this the first time I watched it because the nudity and the sex and the drugs was just like a huge slap in the face. Like there were boobs filling the screen in the first 10 seconds of the film starting. No. Bad director. But all of this is supposed to make you feel uncomfortable and like you need to clear your search history after watching this film. On the surface, it looks like a boob-filled, drug-induced fuckfest. But underneath, it explores a lot of issues, especially with society and party culture, but more specifically in young adults. Like peer pressure, fear of missing out, wanting to fit in, but also some bigger issues like the role of women and sexualization of women and racial divides. Now, what I found very interesting was that this film looks into the same ideas as Ginger and Rosa does, but in a completely different light. This was the film that I talked about in the last video, so go check that out if you haven't yet. They have two very different ways of talking about young female empowerment. I think Rolling Stone summed it up really well in their review of Spring Breakers, as they said that Corinne would do the most radical work, but put it out in the most commercial way to infiltrate the mainstream, which is actually a very smart move. But this radical work came with plenty of controversy. There is a whole section on the Wikipedia page just for the controversies in this film. There were many racial debates as Alien talks about how he grew up as the only white kid in a town full of African Americans. There are also a lot of hints to how African Americans are being treated, especially by like white Caucasian people. Like at the start of the film, two of the girls are in one of their college lectures, and if you listen really closely to what the lecturer is talking about, it's actually on African American experiences in the United States post-World War II. The opening and closing scenes are also discussed a lot in this debate, as the opening scene shows a flood of white bodies partying on the beach, whereas one of the final scenes of the film shows two of the girls going in to ambush the rival gang. But this scene is all under like a black light, so their yellow bikinis and their pink balaclavas glow super, super bright, but that makes their skin look much darker. Some critics have argued that this is kind of like an act of blackface, whereas other critics are saying that it's just the lighting design and it's got nothing to do with that. Now, the other controversy that this film has been the subject of is the portrayal of women. Now, this is very two-sided, as some are saying that it's really sexist and just unnecessary, whereas others are saying that it almost acts as a feministic film. From my experience watching it, I found it very uncomfortable because it was almost like they were naked for the sake of being naked and it didn't add anything to the story. And there were just unnecessary shots of the girls' bodies. Like in one scene, they're sitting in the hotel pool talking about life, talking about how much fun they're having, and then the camera just bobs down into the water and shows them in their bikinis for like a split second and then comes back up. Like that sort of thing just really annoys me. Why? But what I found the most uncomfortable is that there were barely any women in the production team, like behind the scenes. So that was sort of like setting off alarm bells in my brain. The critics were very 50-50 as well, as some thought it was Kareen's best film in years and praised him for depicting the pursuit of happiness taken to nihilistic extremes and creating a kind of girl power camaraderie, whereas others thought it reinforces rape culture as the camera moves around these women's bodies like a giant tongue. Like, way too descriptive, that's... Ugh. So overall, it was a very confronting film, but I can kind of see the way that Kareen was trying to use that to his advantage and plant little seeds, little issues, and trying to get people to talk about it. I did really like the aesthetic of it though, but there's just a few little things that made me question why he had to go that far, he had to take it that far. So I wouldn't voluntarily watch it again, but I don't know. It's just kind of gross, kind of okay. It's like middle for me. Yeah. If you have seen this film, did you agree with me? Maybe you thought it was great and just wanted me to shut up and stop dissing it. Leave your thoughts down in the comments, but please remember to be respectful of everyone's opinions. If you like what I'm doing here, please leave a like on this video, subscribe, and if you have any suggestions on how I can improve the channel, leave your comments down below. And also don't forget to follow me on Twitter. Thanks so much for watching. I will get on to the next film and I will see you in the next video. Why do I look like a rat?